Hello.
Hello, Stephanie.
How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Good, good. Welcome to class. Glad to see you.
Thanks. Me too.
Thank you. Pull up my stuff right now. Well, I'm not sure how many people will be joining us tonight, but we'll wait just a couple of minutes for people to
Okay, no
come in. Yeah, the link was in the class details, but I will also post the link in the chat if you want to pull up tonight's poems on your own screen. Of course, I will screen share them as well as we read them.
Okay.
But they're there. All right. And hello. How are you tonight? Jose?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. I saw you talking, but we couldn't hear you at first. Okay. How are you tonight?
Well, it's afternoon here, but
Okay.
I'm a student Rose. I'm at the university. Uh, so, teacher, let me
You're just
uh,
spending.
present for you. Okay? I'm from Brazil. I'm 30 years old,
Okay.
and I'm studying math a lot. I'm a PhD student. Because of that, I'm trying to improve my English day by day.
Okay.
I need to speak with some researchers, and I have it like a problem for me.
Okay. Well, I'm very glad you're here. I hope that this class can help you with that.
Okay,
So welcome. Nice to meet you.
it's a pleasure.
And thanks. Venus, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
All right. And where are you from?
I'm from Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Oh, wonderful. And this is your first class with me, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
You too, thanks.
Good. And Raphael, hello. How are you?
Hello, Stephanie. Fine, thanks for asking. You?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you again. Glad you're here.
See you too as well.
And Adi, hello.
Hello, teacher.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Thank
Good.
you. How are
Good.
you?
I am fine, thank you. It's a Saturday night here, so good day, good weekend so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ming, hello.
Oh, hello, teacher.
How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for
Good.
asking.
Good. Glad to see you again.
Thank you.
And Matthew, hello.
Hey,
How are you?
great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks.
You have you been in a class of mine before?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, okay. Yes,
Fun classes.
I thought so. So good. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
And Anatoly, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I hope you noticed the link I posted and the attachment I added. We can all thank Anatoly for kind of showing me how to do that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Mikael, hello.
Hello, Stephanie. What do?
How are you? I'm good. How are you tonight?
No, at home. No, relax.
Good. Well, good. It looks like everyone is here, so we'll get started. A lot of new faces today, so I will start with an introduction. My name is Stephanie. I am from the United States, Minnesota. So I do have an American accent. I hope it's easy to understand. This is my 7th year teaching, my 5th year teaching English. I was a classroom teacher in a bilingual classroom teaching English and Spanish for the first 2 years of my teaching career. Then I got my license in English as a second language. I taught that in the States for 5 years. And I am currently living in the Czech Republic, teaching English to small children. So that's kind of my background.
You live in Prague?
No, I'm actually in Karlovy Vary.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's about, well, do you know it?
Yeah, of course. But I've never been there. I was in Prague only for PT.
I love Prague. I originally wanted to teach in Prague, but there were no positions when I was looking. But I'm really glad that I'm in Karlovy Vary. It's smaller, and it's very quaint, very cute.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, picturesque. So, really enjoying it here.
Great.
All right, so that's a little bit about me. A little bit about this class. Originally, I started this class, I called it Poetry for Pronunciation, with the idea of kind of sharing some short poems that that would be easy to memorize, so that you could practice your pronunciation kind of on the go. When I was learning Spanish, I found it very helpful I memorized a few poems, and then I could kind of walk around and repeat the poems and focus on speaking faster and really mastering the sounds. So that's how I started the class. I am going to tell you that tonight, I just don't know how appropriate the title is for tonight's selection of poems. The poems we'll read tonight generally don't quite rhyme as much. They won't be as easy to memorize as poems I've done in previous classes. And they're also poems that are much less familiar to me than past classes. So, so we'll be kind of digging into these poems together. At the end, if there is time, I will give you an opportunity to read one of the poems or do a shared reading, just to work in a little bit of pronunciation. But I hope you find the class valuable anyway. Poetry is wonderful for expanding our vocabulary and, of course, learning about culture, and I find it entertaining. So that is kind of the background of the class. The link is in the chat. If you don't have it up already, it's there. Tonight's poems are all by the same author, and this is my new favorite poet. I recently discovered him, and what I've read of him I find very enjoyable. So I hope you enjoy it as well. So with that, let's get into it. Just a short, little bit of a biography of him before we go to the poems. This poet's name is Terence Hayes, and he was born in 1971 in South Carolina. So he's a very contemporary poet. His poems are often around the themes of popular culture, race, music, and masculinity. He's a big fan of jazz, and you may notice some wordplay that might resemble jazz a little bit in some of his poems. So that is kind of the introduction. Are there any questions before we go right into the poems? All right. So we'll do this. We'll look at one poem. I'll read it, and then ask you for questions about vocabulary or anything else you might have questions about. And then after each poem, I have about 10 questions to help us analyze the poem. So we'll have a discussion after each poem to kind of break down the meaning and understand the poem better. And at that time, I do hope everyone will kind of share their interpretations. And that, if you would like the questions in front of you, the link is in the class description. There should be a PDF called Questions for Analyzing Poetry. So you're welcome to pull that up if you wish. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to ask that while I'm reading the poems, if you will mute your mic, just to decrease the background kind of noise for everyone. So I will screen share and we'll get right into the poems. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Oops. Just a moment. Okay. So these are rather new poems for me, so I will need your help in the analysis part. Okay, so here we are. Terence Hayes, poems by Terence Hayes, and we're going to just start with the first one here, Cocktails with Orpheus, and we'll go down the line as time allows. All right, so Cocktails with Orpheus. Let me zoom in just a little. Cocktails with Orpheus by Terence Hayes. After dark, the bar full of women part of me loves, the part that stood naked outside the window of Miss Geneva, recent divorcee, who owned a gun. Oh, Miss Geneva, where are you now? Orpheus says she did not perish. She was not turned to ash in the brutal light. She found a good job. She made good money. She had her own insurance and a house. She was a decent wife. I know dissent lives in the word decent. The bar noise makes a kind of silence. When Orpheus hands me his sunglasses, I see how fire changes everything. In the mind, I am behind a woman whose skirt is hiked above her hips, as bound as touch permits, saying, "Don't forget me when I become the liquid out of which names are born, salt milk, milk sweet, and animal made. I want to be a human above the body, uprooted and right, a fold of pleas released, but I am a black wound, what's left of the deed." All right, so this one, that's our first poem. So first, questions on any of the vocabulary here? And
Perish and ash.
So perish. Perish means to die. Kind of an old-fashioned poetic word for die. And what was the other word? I'm sorry. Ash.
Maybe it's dust.
Yes. Yep. Ash is dust. Dust. Yep. Right here. So yep.
Okay, I know descent.
Descent. Descent is going down. So you might descend into hell or descend the stairs. So to go down. And it can be a verb or a noun. In this case, it's a noun. So the action of going down.
Hike above her hips.
What stanza is that? Sorry.
Third.
Okay, third stanza. Hiked above her hips. So to hike up your skirt is to pull your skirt up.
Okay.
Good.
And a fold of pleas released.
The last stanza.
Last stanza.
Yeah, so this, pleas are cries for help or cries of begging something. A plea is a begging or an asking for something desperately. So a fold of pleas, I'm imagining, is like many pleas together.
Okay.
Yeah, and a deed is an action, something that you do, like for example, you do a good deed when you give to charity. It's a good deed or a good action.
Is Orpheus a name?
Yes, very good. I was hoping someone would ask that. So Orpheus, I'm going to paste in the chat kind of the definition. Orpheus was a legendary musician, poet, and prophet in ancient. Sorry, my computer is moving slowly. In ancient Greek religion and myth. So a mythical poet that the Greeks maybe worshipped.
Okay, what about black wound? I am a black wound. Is that feeling or something like that?
Yeah, so a wound is when you're hurt. You have a wound or a cut or a scrape, a wound. And so a black wound, this is either a very bad wound. It probably has a double meaning here, meaning both a very bad wound, a wound that you might be ashamed of. It may also be a reference to his race. Terrence Hayes is African American, so it might be kind of a play. I am a black wound. Might be a reference to his race.
Okay.
Good. Other questions on vocabulary?
Uproot, the last noise before.
Uprooted, right here.
Is confident or similar a confident? Or...
To uproot is when you pull a plant out of the ground, you uproot it. So this is the root of the word. So the roots of a plant, the parts that are in the ground. Yeah, so to uproot it is to pull it out of the ground.
Yes. I suppose but the context is, I understand.
Yeah, the context is a little, so for me personally, if you asked me right now, what does this poem mean, I would say I am not sure. And so this is only my second or third reading of this poem. So what I would actually like to do now is read it again, or actually maybe have one of you read it again, and then we'll get into the questions to analyze it. I personally need to read it again before I will be fully prepared to analyze it. So I hope you all agree. Would anyone like to read this poem?
I do.
All right, Ming, go ahead.
Okay. After dark, the bar full the woman part of me loves. The part that stood naked outside the window of Miss Geneva. Recent divorcee who owned a gun. Oh, Miss Geneva, where are you now? Orpheus says she did, not Paris. She was not turned to ash in the brutal light. She found a good job, she made good money. She had her own insurance and a house. She was a decent wife. I know dissent lives in the word decent. The bar noise makes a kind of silence. When Orpheus hands me his sunglasses, I see how fire changes everything. In the mind, I am behind a woman whose skirt is hiked above her hips, as bound as touch permits, saying, "Don't forget me when I become the liquid out of which names are born. Salt, milk, milk sweet, and animal made. I want to be a human above the body, uprooted and right, of folds of please released. But I am a black wound, what's left of the deed."
Excellent. Very nice reading. All right, so I think on a second reading, the meaning is starting to become more clear. So let's get into the questions that are going to help us analyze this. And I will post the questions in the chat. So the first question is, what is the theme of the poem? Or what is the poet trying to say? What is the poem about? And I'll just offer that question up to anyone who has a guess.
About women.
I think as I understood that it's about he loved woman. He now is divorced, and he observes her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he imagines that if he with her now.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a memory here. It's definitely about women, or a woman in particular. The divorcee does refer to Miss Geneva. Yeah, so, and as far as him, the narrator, I don't know. Terrence Hayes himself is married, but I don't know if the narrator of this poem is married or divorced or what. But yeah, he seems to be remembering a former love of his. I'd agree. Anyone else? What is he trying to say? What is this poem about?
Me. I think the poem says she is still alive, she is not dead, and she find a good job, and she has own insurance. So he talk about women. But my question here, teacher. Okay.
Yes.
The bar full of women, part of me loves. So what did he mean here?
Yes. Good question. So this, the question is, what does this first line mean? And it took me a few readings. I interpret this as the bar full of women, part of me loves. So this is describing the part of him. So there's a part of him that he's calling bar full of women. and that's the part of him that loves. So I interpret this to mean that that there's one aspect of his self that that is kind of a maybe a, how would I say, like
Double
kind of,
personality maybe.
yeah, a part of his
He
person.
has- Yeah. Okay. Sorry, teacher. Go ahead.
No, like a part of his personality that kind of likes the darker, carnal nightlife side of life. A part of him that really enjoys being in a bar that's full of women. And that is the part of him that is writing this poem, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, any other thoughts on that? Or what he means by that?
That person, that man, he likes nightlife, and he described that his love to that nightlife, but after that he moved away from that statement, and I don't know what about second.
Yeah, I think so. So it does seem that the part of him that loves this nightlife, this bar full of women, is only one small part of him. And how, yeah, so at the end, then he does, it seems that he moves away from it. Yeah, I would agree.
So, teacher, I have a question about this.
Yeah.
How we classify this poet? Is that a metaphor or it is a reality poem? So, what do you think, in your opinion?
My opinion is that this is a I would call it a real. I'm guessing, and I don't know that much about Terrence Hayes, but I would guess that this is autobiographical. I would guess that this is a poem that he wrote based on an experience of his with a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, he does. He writes a lot from personal experience, from what I can tell, and I would guess that this is one of those poems from his own experience in life.
Yeah, maybe he described a woman, he saw her.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that the woman is a metaphor, but I doubt it. Oh, why is this there? There we go. I feel like the woman is kind of a tool or a lens through which he is examining this part of him, and kind of how this part of him has changed. He almost glorifies this experience, this night, and he glorifies it at the beginning, or kind of makes it very sensual, very close experience. But at the end here, he finds that it's not the poetic act that it sounds like. He wants it to be, but at the end, he is a black wound. He's what's left over after the act.
Okay, teacher, can we see, Stephanie, can we see the first part? After dark, the bar full of women. Part of me loves. We can say that despite of the bar full of women, but a part of him already is in love. because he followed by the part that stood naked outside the window. So this part is in another place. Uh, Despite of this place full of women, but this part of him is thinking about another woman and waiting outside her window.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's yeah.
I
So
think
that
that I don't know.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't see that. So these are two different parts. This is one part of him, the bar full of
No,
women part, and
the same
this,
part.
it's the same part. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was also interpreting it as the same part.
Yeah.
But your comment made me think that maybe it's possible that it is two parts. What do others think? Is this one part of him writing this poem, or are there maybe two parts of him experiencing? Oh, okay. Wait. So,
Because he clears that this part of him is thinking about another woman, despite of this place falling of a woman already.
Okay.
So
Yes.
he doesn't pay attention to all these women because his mind with another woman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I agree totally with her.
Yeah. I do too. Yeah, I hadn't really been thinking that, but it does seem that, yeah, that he's and it especially is that part that you said that stood naked outside the window.
Yeah.
That could, yeah.
It's a woman having reflections about her life. I think there is she lives in a kind of life that she wouldn't like to live there, but she got all that she has now living that's live. That's life. I think it's that.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
I think it's something else. I think it's a guy. He's sitting in a bar full of women, but he can't stop thinking about this woman named Miss Geneva, and he's thinking about she's having a good life. She's making a lot of money. She has her own insurance, but she's not with him anymore. And then he's trying to forget about her by going to the bar and drinking and using poetry. But like he said, he's like the drinking and all that stuff can't fill the black wound inside of him because that part of him is that person or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem that there's some sadness here. It seems that he had this experience in the past with Miss Geneva, this experience with her, but then she went on in her life. She didn't perish. She found a good job. She made money. She went on and did all the quote right things that a woman is supposed to do. To me, this line is particularly poignant. I know dissent lives in the word decent. Would anyone like to comment on that line? What does he mean when he says, I know dissent lives in the word decent?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who asking?
Oh, was that, let's see, who spoke up? Was that, sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen to see who was talking. Ming, was that?
Oh, he can go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, Ming, go ahead, please.
No, you go.
All right, Thayer, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Okay. I think he know what mean that decent, but I think his life was so far away about decent because he was so brutal with himself and he was so critical with himself, because in the last paragraph he said, I want to be a human. So because he think he maybe made a lot of sense in his life, so he just want to be a human in his soul, not in just be human in his body. So I think he like decent, but he can't be a decent because his life go in a different way. So I don't know.
So almost, yeah, interesting opinion. So almost, in becoming decent, one must come back to Earth, come back and be a human in a way, or in a different way. Interesting. Ming, what were you going to say?
Something similar. I was going to say, since he writes poem, he must wants to experience all the different things in life, to be someone who's not just a ordinary guy. And now he's talking about Miss Geneva. She's sort of conformed to the norms of the society, to be a decent, average person. So I think something, but she's not living to her full potential to experience every possible things in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had a similar interpretation. I was thinking of Geneva during this line, that he kind of glorifies her, and this sexual experience that they had, he kind of puts up on a pedestal, or he holds it very high, and her changing her life and becoming decent kind of brought her down to the ground again. So not in the high place she used to be. Great thoughts.
Teacher, one question. How do you interpret the words in the penultimate paragraph?
The penultimate paragraph.
Yes, as bond, as touch permit. I don't know the interpretation.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Really good question. So this is actually the paragraph that is giving me the idea that he's holding her up so high. So we do have to look back at the other stanza. I hate that thing that pops up. Okay. So I am behind a woman whose skirt is hiked above her hips, as bound as touch permits, saying, don't forget me when I become the liquid out of which names are born, salt milk, milk sweet, and animal made. This is tough, and I'm not exactly sure what he means, but I kind of interpret it as they're having this experience, this very carnal experience, and she is telling him she is bound. Okay, as bound as touch permits, I interpret as she's only attainable in that he can physically touch her. And outside of his physical contact with her, she is up somewhere else. And she is saying to him, don't forget me when I become the liquid out of which names are born, salt milk, milk sweet, and animal made. I think she's saying, don't forget me when I am no longer this this sexual angel, almost. that is my interpretation.
It's possible. I don't know. I don't know.
Does anyone else want to? It's hard to interpret that line. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
To me, it's very similar, teacher. She is hide behind her work, her job, and she don't want to forget what essential of her, the essential of her. She don't want to forget it. So.
Yeah. No. It seems that Yeah, I would agree. And this could be, for some reason I was interpreting it as kind of the past that they did this, that this happened, but it might just be her night person, whereas her day person goes to work and makes good money and is a decent wife. And so maybe she's saying, don't forget this part of me, this night person. When I go back to being the liquid of which names are born, or salt milk, milk sweet.
Because salt milk sweet are adjectives, no?
Yeah. So using just the term milk milk itself is not a strong flavor. It's really kind of a smooth, boring almost. The image is rather boring. It gives, it's the image of home, of being safe and good, and so I think that might be what that's saying there. Anyone else? Any thoughts?
Yes, I do. I
Yeah.
think he feel he live alone because he don't have anyone to share with him his feeling, but he want to lie about about himself, to say I'm not alone anymore. I'm behind a woman whose skirt is hiked above. So maybe he tried to find something make him feel he is not alone anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and actually that's pretty likely. So I was interpreting that as her saying that, but it's very clearly is probably him saying that to her as he's standing behind her. Yeah, because we could, this part between the commas, if we kind of read it without that part, it sounds like, I am behind a woman whose skirt is hiked above her hips, saying, don't forget me when I become the liquid out of which names are born, salt milk, milk sweet, and animal made. Yeah, so, and then he goes on to say he wants to be a human above the body. So maybe he is telling her, don't forget me when I go back to my real self, myself that isn't in this experience. Really, really good thought and good comment. Anyone else? How do you interpret that? Who is saying that? Is it him or her?
I think but he said about both because he took up on her and on him. But I have a question, teacher.
Yes.
Do you think if someone left us, we forgot him or not like this man?
I think people fear being forgotten more often than they are forgotten. So I know, of course, nobody remembers everyone they've met in their entire life, but most of us, I think, it's just opinion, most of us remember people that we have such experiences with. So then that makes me think this is a fear. When saying that, don't forget me, that there's a fear of being forgotten. And that's a very human, I think that's a feeling that we can kind of identify with, the fear of being forgotten by people. Yeah, I think we all fear that in some degree. I mean, that's one reason people have children, is to have someone remember them when they're gone. What do other people think? I think that's a great question. Anyone else? All right. So this isn't a very long poem, but we can see there's a lot going on. We've spent all of our time so far on this poem. I do have more questions. We could continue analyzing this poem, or we could go to another one and try to go into the next one quickly. I would like to know what you think. Why don't you type in the chat would you rather continue analyzing this poem, or would you rather go on to another poem?
Let's move to another one.
All right, great. Okay, so let's go.
This one is too deep. It's, only he knows only he knows what he wants to say. You can interpret it like in many ways.
Yes, and I find a lot of his poem is very deep in a similar way. Oops. It's one reason I really like him. I don't know. I hope it's okay for this class. We'll see. And please do leave feedback and let me know afterwards how this went and if it was useful. Because we clearly won't get through all of his poems tonight, and so I will continue this next week. But for now, let's get into the second poem here. It's called Mystic Bounce. Again, I'll read it, we'll go through vocabulary, and then I will ask one of you to read it again for us so we can kind of understand it a little better. So, Mystic Bounce by Terence Hayes. Even if you love the racket of ascension, you must know how the power leaves you. And at this pitch, who has time for meditation? The sea walled in by buildings. I do miss the quiet, don't you? When I said, fuck the deer antlered and hithered in fur, it was because I had seen the faces of presidents balled into a fist. If I were in charge, I would know how to fix the world. Free health care, or free physicals, at least, and an abiding love for the abstract. When I said, all of history is saved for us, it was because I scorned the emancipated sky. Does the anthem choke you up? When I asked God if anyone born to slaves would die a slave, he said, sure as a rock descending a hillside. That's why I'm not a Christian. So, again, a really, really deep poem. Questions about vocabulary first.
Okay, even if you love the rocket of ascension.
Yep. So racket is a really loud noise, or a lot of really loud noises. And ascension is going up. So it's actually the opposite of descent. We had descent in the last poem. Ascent, or to ascend, and it has religious connotations. So, and in this instance, I believe he is using it for its religious meaning, which means to ascend to heaven or to go up to heaven. So even if you love the noise of going up to heaven, you must know how the power leaves you.
Scorned?
Scorned. Scorned is when we often use that word when we talk about love that has gone bad. Like a lover scorned is a lover who has been dumped or broken up with.
Okay.
Scorn is also, it's not always in a romantic sense like that. It can also be, you can scorn something that you disapprove of. So yeah, if you scorn something, you disapprove of it in a hateful way.
Okay.
Good. Other vocabulary.
Emancipated.
Oops, sorry. So okay, something emancipated. Emancipate is to set free from something, or to be set free.
Okay, and pitch?
Where is that? Pitch in the third line. Pitch is the volume of a sound, or not volume, but the
tone.
Yes, the tone. Thank you. So you can speak in a high pitch or a low pitch.
Hithered infer.
Yeah, hithered infer. Hither usually means here. It's an old English word for here. And so in this case, I'm not really sure what it means, but in the context, I would say it means covered in fur.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, before heathered untilred.
And let's see, where is that in?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines.
Okay, so this part, the quiet don't you when I said fuck the deer? 1, 2, is that the third? Fourth? No, I'm sorry, that's the fifth. Antlered and hithered and fur, it was because. So this, fuck the deer, antlered and hithered and fur, he's saying, in this sense, fuck, and please excuse the profanity, he means, who cares about the deer, antlered and hithered and fur? Like, fuck it, who cares about it? You shouldn't care about it. It's meaningless. So whatever this deer is, and I don't know what it represents, whatever it is, he thinks it's meaningless. Good.
Yeah, but you know, teacher, I think the poem, the poetry has a human sense when he said, when I asked God if anyone born to slave would die a slave, he said, he mean the God answered him. He said, sure, as a rock descended.
Yeah, descending a hillside. So,
yeah.
So what do you think he means by that?
I don't sure about the God answered him, and he said to him, sure.
Yeah. So God said yes. So he.
Yeah,
right. And that's why he's not a Christian. So he, in this metaphorical conversation with God, he asks if anyone born to slaves would die a slave, and God said yes, and that's why he's not a Christian. Because this God, I think it's his way of saying that God is a cruel God, and that's why he doesn't believe in him or isn't a Christian.
What does he mean by slave?
Slave, he means, and this is, I believe, he just because of being an African American, he is referring to the history of slavery in America, which he also refers to when he talks of the presidents, he's kind of alluding to America's history of slavery. And he's also, when he uses the word emancipated, emancipated in American English, it does have a connotation. Most Americans will instantly think of the Emancipation Proclamation, which was the document that President Lincoln released that formally freed the slaves.
What is his age? How old is he?
He is 1971, so he is 43.
I think he's nowadays he's not a slave anymore.
No, he's not. He's not at all.
Maybe when he was a child, but nowadays he's okay.
Even as a child. So slavery technically ended in 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation, but in reality, the legacy of slavery in America is profound. It's very much present. There is a lot of racism in America, and so if I had to guess at the theme of this poem, I would say it's kind of his response, or one of his responses to racism in America. And since he is black, he probably has experienced racism, especially coming from South Carolina. I shouldn't say that, but
Why shouldn't you say that?
It's a stereotype to assume that Southern people are more racist than Northern people. And I'm from the north of Minnesota is a northern state, and we like to think we're less racist than other states, which isn't. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Teacher, one question.
Yes.
In the phrase, what moment it was because I scored the emancipated sky. Okay, I understand. Next, does the anthem choke you up? I don't understand this question because when I asked God if anyone born to a slave will die as slave. I don't understand this question in the context.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So choke you up, to become choked up is a phrasal verb or kind of an idiomatic expression that means, so yeah, okay, it's a phrasal verb and an idiomatic expression. To become choked up is to be near tears, to be almost crying. So he's asking, and by anthem, I'm assuming, I would bet, that he is referring to the national anthem of the United States. So he's asking, does the United States national anthem make you want to cry? And it almost seems like a bit of a commentary on, or almost, it seems like there's a little bit of anger towards his country for its history of slavery. So does our national anthem make you want to cry? I think for him it doesn't. For him, he has some anger there. Does that kind of clarify? That would be my interpretation.
More or less.
Good, really good question.
I think he still suffers from rackets because the previous poem in the last two paragraph he said something that it has evident that he also suffers from rackets.
Yeah, so from the racket, like of ascension, the noise of ascension, kind of all the talk about it. Yeah, it does. It seems like that kind of bothers him. All of this talking about goodness, you know, and then he's almost contrasting this goodness, heaven, with this very dark history of slavery. And it seems that there's some anger there, that he sees a little bit of hypocrisy in those two things coexisting in the same society. Yeah, good, really good comment. Anyone else? We are running out of time here, but are there any more comments about this poem or questions?
Yep, I have one. So, teacher,
yes.
I think the people, as he said, the people who born as slaves, they can change their way and their life. So, should we still and stay and live as a slave even they die? So, do you think that?
Do I personally think that?
Yes.
If we talk metaphorically, slaves in a metaphorical sense in America, I think it is, if you're born poor in America, you are likely to die poor in America. Unfortunately, it is,
teacher,
despite the myth of, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, but I think there's a difference between poor and slave.
Yes, and so I do think he's kind of using slaves metaphorically to talk about oppressed people in general, anyone who's oppressed. Because of course in America now there are not slaves. No one is owned by another person. However, there are many, many oppressed people.
Even now?
Yes, even now. And so my interpretation is that he is using slaves to refer to people who are oppressed, either by racism or classism, poverty, any of the societal factors that can oppress people.
Yeah, maybe he know it what happened in Ferguson.
Yeah.
What's oppressed?
Oppressed is, and I'll just type that word in the chat real quick. Oppressed is to be held down by something. Or to be held back by something, or to have your voice silenced, or have your options limited, to have your life limited. So you can be oppressed by racism, right? You can't get a good job because of racist people. They oppress you.
But you have equal opportunity employer law in America. That's not true. That like other races are oppressed. So basically, a company should hire 50-50, 50 other races and 50%.
Yes, we have that law in order to fight oppression, racist oppression. In reality, it still exists. So despite efforts and despite people believing that there isn't this oppression anymore, I think people who are oppressed would tell you that there still is oppression.
Okay.
And I hate to end this very quickly, but I have another class that was supposed to start a minute ago. So I just want to thank you all so much for your really valuable comments. We'll continue with Terrence Hayes next week, and I really hope to see you all there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.